Good night, brothers and sisters. Good night, brothers and sisters. Tonight we're not celebrating. There is nothing to celebrate tonight. Political leader, first deputy political leader, other executive members, chairman of the party, colleague parliamentarians, ladies and gentlemen, Mamai Leba. Tonight, we're going to reflect. We're going to reflect on 3 years of the United Workers' Party. I want to start off by giving love to the people of Castries South. I thank you for welcoming me to your homes and to your lives. I have to thank you for sharing your challenges, your griefs, your pain, your sorrows with me for the last 3 years. It has taught me humility beyond belief. I also want to thank you for sharing with me your dreams, your aspirations, your hopes, and your desire for a better St. Lucia. It is that has given me the zeal, the commitment, the courage, and the dedication to fight every single day against the United Workers' Party. And I can tell you, the people of Castries South, if it were not for you, my spirit probably would have been broken already. But every time I walk or I move from Cemetery to Fuasho to Banan to Tunnel Road to Monlatok to Cicero to Goodlands, Ticolo, Basse Joseph, Marigo, you strengthen me. And every day I listen to you, I know we must fight, and we must win this fight. Because this is a fight for the soul of St. Lucia. And I'm often asked, and even today somebody asked me, what it is I find most offensive about the United Workers' Party for the last 3 years. And I don't have a lot of time tonight, so I deal with one of them. And I find it the most offensive thing about the United Workers' Party. And for me, it's a simple thing. But it is a serious thing. This is the most corrupt government we've ever had in the history of St. Lucia. Never before have we seen such naked and bull-faced corruption. Now, sometimes when you say corruption, the flubbers, yopa emesa. Yopa emesa. But let me tell you, some of you may have heard of Transparency International. Transparency International is the international body that monitors corrupt governments. And every year, they issue a list of the most corrupt governments in the world. Hear what they say. Hear what they say is corruption. Transparency International says any abuse of power for personal gain is corruption. Any abuse of power for personal gain is corruption. So when people tell you they know how to make money work when they're in government, when people tell you that it is difficult to be honest in St. Lucia, you start seeing the signs of corruption. Transparency International also says that the abuse of high-level power that benefits a few at the expense of the many, that is corruption. Anything that government does that seeks to benefit a few at the expense of many, that is corruption. And hear what Transparency International says. Any manipulation of policies, institutions, and rules of procedure by political decision makers who abuse their power to keep their wealth, their status, and their power. That is corruption. Now, ladies and gentlemen, That same Transparency International, and I ask you to go on the internet and Google, for the last 3 years, St. Lucia corruption is shown to be getting worse. You following me? For the last 3 years, St. Lucia's ranking for corruption is getting worse. It is getting worse. It is because they recognize that there are practices in St. Lucia that shows signs of corruption in government. So let me tell you something. Why corruption is important, and you need to take note of it. Corruption is simply stealing from you. That's what corruption is. Taking away from the poor, the working poor, the unemployed, the middle class, for a few people to benefit from it. That is corruption. And that is exactly what is happening in St. Lucia. So money that can be used for schools, for roads, for playing fields, for health care, for education, that money is not going the place it is supposed to go. I want you to help me. I want you to help me. I'm going to call out a few activities that have taken place in this country in the last 3 years, and I want you to answer me and tell me if you believe it's corruption. Are you ready? Yes. Are you ready? Yes. Let us start with the Ernest & Young consultancy. Is that corruption? Yes. The Blasher Road that did not go to tender. Is that corruption? Yes. The Roseau to Vanna Road that did not go to tender. Is that corruption? Yes. The Don Lockerbie sports contract. Is that corruption? Yes. Pimandu, $13 million that did not go to tender. Is that corruption? Yes. The airport redevelopment project. Is that corruption? Yes. The road rehabilitation project. Is that corruption? Yes. The dam desilting site preparation works that did, and I told you all what happened about that tendering process. You remember that? Is that corruption? Yes. 30 direct awards in 1 day. Is that corruption? Oh, yeah. The contract to refurbish this market that was just given to Fresh Track without any tendering. Is that corruption? The Saltibus Road. Is that corruption? Yes. The school repairs that are taking place everywhere without tendering. Is that corruption? Yes. The Tents for Jazz Festival. Is that corruption? Yes. DSH. Is that corruption? Yes. CIP. Is that corruption? So you see, and I'm not giving you the full list. Nupani Tapusa Oswea. Millions of dollars that taxpayers will have to pay. No tendering, no central boards at all. A few people getting contracts by direct awards. And you know what's most offensive about this government? People are complaining about no tendering. And do you know what they do? They don't start tendering. They do more direct awards. Somebody tell me, why was there a need to give Fresh Start a direct award for this market? Why? Is there any urgency? Is there any national disaster? Why is there a need to give direct awards after direct awards after direct awards? Now, when you give direct awards and no tendering, nobody can establish whether you're getting the best price for the work that has to be done. Because when you ask 3 or 4 people to tender for a job, you end up getting the best price. You give the job to the person with the lowest tender. But that's not done. They choose who gets the jobs and they give it directly to them. So, when Kenny Anthony was in government, Tutmun Kadi, tendering, Renault, tendering. Renault used to win the tenders. In St. Lucia, right now, no tendering. No tendering. A few people getting all the contracts over and over and over. So, what really hurts me sometimes is whilst poor people in this country are suffering, there are people who are defending the government and saying there's nothing wrong in what they are doing. They're defending the government. They say there's nothing wrong with that. And hear that, they want you to believe that this country is booming, that all is well in this country. Unemployment is declining. I want tonight to deal with a couple of those issues. The United Workers' Party put out an ad, and they said that they grow the economy by 3%. Now, let me tell you something. There is no growth in this country unless you benefiting from the growth. Mami left Samundi. If there is growth and only a few benefiting from it, yes, growth. The growth they have is for their friends, their family, and for some foreigners. That's the growth they have. Now, I want to tell you something. During the budget was rushed. They came to Parliament with estimates that had mistakes after mistakes after mistakes. And I tried to figure out why were they rushing the budget? Why they didn't get all the figures right? And we just realized why they were rushing. Alan Chasney went to the House and said growth for last year was 1.5%. But after that, the ECCB, CDB, and everybody saying growth was way lower than that. He knew the official figures were going to come out. So he rushed ahead, present a budget, and claim he had 1.5% growth, knowing that the figures will come out to show it is only 0.6% growth they had in the country. Now, tell me, don't fool St. Lucians. St. Lucians know when they have growth in this country. When life is getting better for you, land the growth. But they want to tell you they're growing the economy. And in 3 years, they grow it by 3%. A lot of bluff. A lot of bluff. Let me tell you something. Even the Flabo supporters are crying out, listen to me, are crying out that this government is only for a few. Suit and you. When they meet me on the road, in Cicero, in Hospital Road, they themselves saying, Bagay weather pay here. It's only one set of Flabos getting everything. They themselves saying it. But when they see you, they won't say that because they have to hide their shame. Inside, they're hurting. Saka chwe you, but they're defending their party. Defending their party. But they too, if you pull them on a side and you swear never to tell anybody, they will tell you, you have your tooth say vol like Hilaire. Your tooth saka pwe tout bagay poko yo. They know it. They know it. But they are defending their party. And silently, all of them cursing what's going on because they know that the men that are running this country now do not care about the people of St. Lucia. They only care about themselves. But they put on a brave face. So, they tell you about unemployment figures. Now that one is the biggest joke we ever had in St. Lucia. Biggest joke. Chasney will go and boast. Chasney will go and boast that unemployment has dropped significantly in St. Lucia. He says in the first quarter of 2017, it was 21.8%. The first quarter of 2018, it was 21.8%. And in the first quarter of 2019, 15.5%. A drop of almost 6%. Now I wanted to just stop and just reflect on that. Just stop. I don't want to give you too many figures. They're telling you in last year, they had so many new jobs created in St. Lucia. Thousands of new jobs. And I want you to answer me. Was any new hotel open? Any big project started in St. Lucia? Any mall open? Any factory open? So, côté jobs la sortie. Tell me one new restaurant that opened in St. Lucia last year. None. Where the thousands of jobs came from. Côté sortie. I did not have a problem in accepting that thousands of jobs were created in St. Lucia. If somebody can tell me 2 new hotels open, if somebody can tell me a new mall open, a new factory open, I would accept thousands of jobs were created. Worse, they told us that the economy slowed down last year. So the economy is slowing down, less economic activity, but they're creating thousands of jobs. Ou jamais tant ça qu'a fait? Ou jamais tant ça qu'a fait? But you know what's worse is where the jobs were created. Thousands of jobs were created in Canaries. 1,000 in Strozel. 1,000 in Labrie. Where that happened? Where that happened? Where did that happen? Now, they will fraud figures at you. Jobs, unemployment. Now let me tell you, I'm happy when unemployment drop. When St. Lucians get jobs and life get better, mwen mesa. Me pamati. Now, the other thing they want you to believe, and I want to deal with it quickly, and you will hear them and you will see some of them writing it on Facebook. Stop complaining about the mayor. Forget he doesn't tender. Forget he doesn't get approval. Forget about Chasney. Once he build a road for you, I'll be happy. You're telling me that we have gone to Parliament. We've borrowed $100 million US dollars, 270 million EC. Next week, Tuesday, we're going back to the House to borrow another $205 million for the airport. Next week, Tuesday. We would have borrowed $475 million for the airport. And you're telling me, don't say nothing, don't forget about no tendering, because they will build an airport for us. How can that be acceptable? How can that be acceptable? You're saying to us, you're giving contract for roads all over the country, but don't say nothing about no tendering. Just be happy you get the road. Come on, you can't just happy, Kosa. Who paying the loans? What is the true price of the roads? What's the true price of the airport? If you're not going to tender for us to get the true price, it is most likely that there is corruption taking place. Plain and simple. Now, and I want you to always defend that, that the government must put projects out for tender, There are instances where you give direct awards, urgency, natural disaster, but you cannot for every government project just give it to selected people with no tendering and tell me just be happy I get a bridge, be happy I get a road, and forget about no tendering. That's unacceptable. Unacceptable. And I want the political leader to take note that when we get into office, we must pass a law against corruption in public office. Because the laws in St. Lucia are not tough enough. The laws in St. Lucia are not strong enough to make the people who are involved in corruption to pay the price. It's not strong enough, and we will have to do it. We have to do it. Now, this government promised a better St. Lucia. They say they were building a better St. Lucia 3 years ago. What have they done? They've built a better St. Lucia. St. Lucia, life has gotten worse. Now, I want you to help me again. I want to give you a few examples of things that have happened in St. Lucia over the last 3 years. And I want you to tell me whether, say, Yokipe or whether nous satisfait. Things that UWP has done for the last 3 years. And I want you to tell me, if you're happy with it, you will tell me when satisfied. And if you're not happy with it, you have to say Yokipe. So let me give you a few examples and tell me what you think. When the Prime Minister called all St. Lucians mendicants, backing dogs, and jackasses, what was it? Say Yokipe. When they fired all the nice workers because they thought they were labor, Kimun Kipe. When they took away the distress fund, Kimun Kipe. When Guy Joseph admitted that he scammed the Taiwanese, who Kimun Kipe. When they took down all the vendors' stall on Mother's Day, and what they did the vendors right here, Kimun Kipe. All the scandals with your boulders, Kimun Kipe. When they stopped St. Jude Hospital, Kimun Kipe. You remember we pay, Kimun Kipe. The $24 million they gave to Sandals, Kimun Kipe. Over 120 murders since Alan Chasney came into power, although he said he would solve crime, Kimun Kipe. St. Lucia was blacklisted by the EU. Kimun Kipe. CHTTI. Kimun Kipe. The range scandal where St. Lucia had to pay over $20 million to a developer. Kimun Kipe. For stopping jazz. Kimun Kipe. I can go on and on and on. The point, ladies and gentlemen, after 3 years, c'est pas nous qui ne poupons. C'est yo qui paie. But you know, and I want you to listen to me carefully, all of us in St. Lucia have a responsibility to fight against the cancer of corruption. All of us. Whether we labor, we UWP, we independent, we have to speak up against corruption in government. And there are people who are keeping quiet about it because they're getting a little blind. They're getting a little something out of it. But they are destroying the country. And we need to constantly raise our voice to say that we're fighting against corruption in government. And I want all of you, St. Lucians, and especially the Labour Party soldiers, to always fight against corruption in government. Because this is what we define ourselves as. Because when there is corruption, we are stealing from the poor people of this country. Now, somebody told me that Alan Chassenham says, from tomorrow the campaign starting. From tomorrow the campaign starting. Now, I must tell you, I can't wait for a campaign. I have something to prove. The Labour Party has something to prove. The people made their decisions 3 years ago, and we lost the elections. We were prepared to step back, to reflect, see where we went wrong, and come back again. We didn't get a chance to do that. From day one, Alan Chassenham went and signed the DSH agreement. And since then, it has been non-stop destruction of this country. Non-stop destruction. But they said they're ready for campaign, that they're ready for the Labour Party. I want our soldiers to get ready for this fight. Because this fight is about the soul of this country. If we give Alan Chassenham and his band of bandits another term in this government, you know what will happen to St. Lucia. So, we need to start getting our house in order. Because they said they're getting ready for their campaign. Tout moun ka vini set lisi pou meeting up Alan Chassenham. All pollsters ka vini, tout polls yo ka fe. Pollsters, Facebook experts, TV experts, yo tout ka vini. Let's get ready. I've told my people in Kashui South, if they start the campaign, we start in too. If they start the campaign, we start in too. I want all the brothers and sisters to get ready. Because this fight is the most serious fight and is the mother of all battles. Thank you very much, brothers and sisters.